Downer is very proud to bring this podcast series to you. At Downer, our purpose is to provide the vital services that connect communities and enable them to thrive. We do this by assembling the best minds, harnessing the power of technology and our enduring relationships to deliver sustainable outcomes for all.
My name is Jo Taranto and I'm joined today by Josh MacLeod, Pathways Outreach Program Manager at Engineers Without Borders. And we're talking today about Indigenous-led youth outreach. Welcome, Josh.
Yeah, g'day. Thanks for having me on.
Tell me about the work that you do with Engineers Without Borders.
Yeah, so at Engineers Without Borders, I manage the outreach program there to ensure Indigenous involvement and engagement with community in the education space.
And tell me about how you found yourself in this role.
Yeah, had an exciting opportunity for a program that's an Indigenous-led outreach. We held a forum in 2022. I attended that forum and luckily got a job out of it with EWB to help now deliver that program.
And you're an Indigenous man yourself? Tell us
Yes,
about
I
you.
am. I'm a Darug-Brubberongul man, so my homeland's the whole Sydney region.
And you've been working on a pilot up in Far North Queensland. Can you tell us a bit about what you've been doing?
Yeah, so the Indigenous-led outreach program that we've been doing, we've had strong connections with the community up in Far North Queensland, so the Yidajinka Aboriginal Corporation, and their homelands are the Lama Lama country. For anyone who doesn't know, right up the top of the Cape there. And we've been engaging with them for a number of engineering projects, but now we've been involved with getting the youth active in water solutions and knowing about the water challenges in community.
Does that look like the same thing in every community that you visit?
Water challenges across Australia are quite common for most Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities. However, we do get other situations pop up, such as when they've been awarded native title, how to use that space with ranger bases or cultural centres and other things like that.
You talk about using a place-based approach to the projects that you do. What does that mean?
So all of our work that we do is always using traditional knowledges on that country. Now those knowledges aren't shared with us in the sense that we would then go out and use them. We enable a facilitated space where elders and traditional owners and rangers are able to share their knowledges with the students and the youth to make sure that ICIP and the correct respects are paid with those knowledges.
And all the projects that you work on are co-designed. How does that work?
So we start engaging the community months to years in advance, discussing problems and challenges faced, not just within the youth, but as the community as a whole. And then start designing education programs and lesson plans on how we can engage the students to start tackling some of those challenges.
You mentioned that water comes up a lot as one of the challenges for community. What can that look like?
So water, obviously vital for all of us. And a lot of the time in community, it's access to clean water. When you start looking at the northern part of Australia, we've got dense minerals in the ground and things like that, given the large mining area for a lot of northern Australia. And that often affects the water. Makes a lot of the river systems and billabongs and dams not safe for drinking. So a lot of the challenges around providing access to clean water, and not only just access, but access year round. Far North Queensland in particular, as well as other places in Australia, have wet and dry seasons. And so you have long periods of drought as well as long periods of flooding.
And you've been working with particularly young people up in Far North Queensland. What were some of the things that they wanted to know more about?
Yeah, so the community really wanted to know more about the opportunities for their young people. And then the young people wanted to just love and learn everything about STEM. We actually got to bring some drones and some other cool technology up on country there to showcase some of the possibilities and the technology that not only you can use in the STEM field, but what technologies are used by the rangers on country. To know that engineering is not a career that you have to leave home for. It's something you can do back home on country.
That must be a pretty important consideration, given that there's such a strong connection to country there. Tell us a bit more about the project.
Yeah, so what we ended up doing in the Far North Queensland pilot was 2 days of workshops with the students. Now, those workshops being community identified problem areas. One, we looked at flight, but the most important thing was looking at water. And so what we did with the kids, particularly the younger kids, we all got to go out on country in the morning and built water filters with resources found on country. For anyone who knows, Far North Queensland, and many other parts of Australia has got that really thick red dust. We're able to mix that into the water to make this quite dirty looking water and challenge the students to make water filters that would make the water come out clean like your tap at home would. Some of the students actually got really incredibly efficient and working filters. And these were just made with sand and rocks and other things that are found on country. And then what we did with some of the older kids and the kids that were particularly interested in working on an engineering project is we made a real-world engineering challenge that was using a design brief based off community context. And they all got to play the role of an engineer. So we went through explaining the different type of engineers, all the possibilities that you could be. Obviously not all of them, given there's hundreds of different types of engineers and the possibilities are endless, but covered a lot of what you could do in the area. Each student then got to kind of role play and act as that engineer for the rest of the day, making sure that everything that is important to their role was included in the final design phase. The students then worked together to draw and create in any way that they felt most easy for them to ideate and present by the end of the day a solution to the water problem that they'd been facing in community. The students came out with some incredible designs, and these presentations went back, were actually in front of not only us, but we had traditional owners and elders come into the room, as well as family come join us at the end, that the students were able to present back to and say, look, we found a solution to our town. Like, we can get us water. And the incredible fact is those designs that those students made were actually incorporating and working on them to make them real in that community. Those designs were really well thought out. With the kids living there, they really know the whole aspect of the problems. Being an engineer that's not particularly on site, there's bits of information that you miss that's really important to your design. And just even learning from the students about how at certain times of year they'd buy more shampoo and conditioner to combat the additional chemicals that gets put into their water to make it drinkable, was really interesting. And that's information you wouldn't learn from desktop studies. So to be able to be there and experience that from the students and then have their designs and thoughts, designs of where they could get clean water, how they would clean water. They even some of the students went into detail of wanting to do up a full budget and a cost analysis. We had water tanks designed and made sure that everything was, really relevant to them. I'm always shocked when I look back at the designs and we review them, how incredible they were. The kids were already engineers. The only part they're missing now is that bit of paper from uni, but they've got all the skills ready there on community.
Did you feel like you learnt something from the experience as well?
100%, yeah. Part of our program is we actually get out there a few days earlier before we even engage with the kids and just spend time with the traditional owners and elders to really learn what it's like to be on that country. We had an incredible day where we were taken out to be shown all over Lama Lama country, some really significant and important sites, and learn some of the stories related to them, which really helped us concrete ourselves in community and connect with the students.
You're listening to the Australian Water Association podcast series, and I'm speaking with Josh MacLeod from Engineers Without Borders. One of the other challenges or opportunities you talked about was communities identifying cultural spaces. What does that mean when it comes to Indigenous communities?
So looking at ways that they can keep their knowledge shared in community. So maybe having a space that is accessible for elders to be able to engage with the youth and to make sure that knowledges aren't lost.
And when you're dealing with a community, particularly a new community where you're new, what does good community engagement look like?
Yeah, good community engagement. It's a long process. Often doesn't fit the framework of the traditional engineering project. These things you can't rely on your budget and deadlines. You need to really spend time on community and share not only your organisation but yourself. Really connect with who you're working with. Trust is a huge thing with working with community and working on country. So ensuring that is built first. Sometimes it could take years before we even start any work with the community to ensure that we have the appropriate trust levels being built and the open communication and connection with them.
Now, Engineers Without Borders doesn't just work in Australia, but were you excited to know that there were opportunities like this for you here?
Yeah, 100%. So Engineers Without Borders Australia, we work in Cambodia, Timor-Leste and Vanuatu. And then I found out myself, discovered the Australian program where they were working in community, providing water solutions and school solutions, any other type of engineering solutions. I was incredibly excited to hear that and was extremely keen to get on for a job to be working and doing that same work.
What advice do you have for other organisations who are looking to really engage, particularly Indigenous communities?
I would say take your time. It is a challenge to, adjust budgets and frameworks. They are the way that corporate industry has worked for quite some time. But it is something that does need to change and alter to efficiently and appropriately engage community. So I guess really taking that time and allowing your team and your staff to take that time as well and go on these type of experiences where they come back with so much beneficial knowledge for the organisation as well.
And what advice would you have for other young engineers and particularly First Nations engineers looking to make a career in the water industry?
Just do it. 100% go through it. When I was at school, I had no idea of being an engineer. Didn't even think that was going to be possible for me. But if you know that that's something you want to do, pursue it. Engineering has unlocked so much potential for me and unlocked so many opportunities. You really don't want to miss out on any of them.
I've been speaking with Josh MacLeod, Pathways Outreach Program Manager at Engineers Without Borders. Thank you so much for your time, Josh.
Thank you.